Okay. Wendy, you're up.
All right. Let's let loose another couple of whip cracks at him.
What if you were to tunnel through the wall, though?
I don't have time for that.
24 to hit.
That'll hit.
And a 25.
Also hits.
For 18, magical slashing. Flurry of blows. Oh, wait, no, not flurry of blows. Martial arts.
Okay.
And a miss.
Okay. And
that's my turn.
The thing is bloody. It looks like whatever force it was using to keep its armor together is starting to come unraveled. There's a couple of loud clangs as pieces of armor fall and hit the floor.
It's oxidized.
It was already made of rust.
That's it for me, though.
Okay. There's still no light source, huh?
Nope.
Okay.
Light is for people.
You took them away. You took them away.
Yeah, that's not our fault.
Adrex doesn't need light to kill things.
I think no one can say Wendy did not try her best to provide a light source.
No, I don't.
Does Wendy even know when we need a light source?
Adrex.
Yes.
Oh, I get to roll an advantage against you.
Alright, I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Hey! I'm going to start with red, actually, because I missed red. Red. I have a 14 to hit.
That's a miss, actually.
Adrex.
Yeah.
I have a 26.
Just hits.
And a 24.
Just hits.
Okay.
Poor Adrex. I would give him a big hug.
Adrex, I've got 11 points of slashing damage from the first chain.
Okay.
10 points of slashing damage from the second chain. As
right,
the thing lashes out at the people causing it the most pain and disruption. Red ducks under the chain aimed his way, but Adrex doesn't see it coming. Very literally.
Also, I'm going to sentinel that. I'm sorry, go ahead, McDohl.
I'm going to use my reaction to parry.
Okay.
Spend a superiority die to cut off some of that damage. 2! Perfect.
Not one of my sentinel attempts, so never mind.
I thought you said you were going to sentinel him, and then you don't. Ah.
Yeah, I tried. I did my best.
Could never trust anything.
Never.
And that's going to bring us to Raazu.
Yeah. So, go ahead and take 2 more swings with the whip. Rolling like butt today. That's only he's got plate armor. It doesn't. I'm not gonna be fishing for anything good or nothing. Oh my god.
Hey, Adrex, your silver sword was the one I used to have, right? I don't hand out. My inventory claims that.
These are the ones he had made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I still have a silver short sword I could hand somebody, okay.
So, Raazu, did you hit?
No, I rolled another nat 1.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. I'm just going to not use any more dice. I'm going to put all of these in the corner where they can't harm anyone, mainly me. So, yeah, no, let's start taking from these shitty dice over here in the corner.
All right, thanks.
Are you going to roll a second attack, or...?
I rolled a nat 1 on my second attack.
Oh, okay.
I rolled...
I thought you only rolled
Okay, Brick Road, does a 10 hit?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Moving or staying put?
Staying put.
It's going to bring us to Adrex. Can you be the guy right here?
Alright.
No confidence.
I gotta roll at disadvantage, so...
Yep.
First attack is a 16 to hit.
16 does not hit.
Does not hit. Alright.
But this next one.
Second attack. Nope.
Nah. Well,
Third attack
this one though.
is an 18 to hit.
18 will hit.
18 will hit. Excellent. 4. 12 slashing.
And you're using your silvered weapon?
I'm using my silvered weapon.
Okay. As you slash out one last time, again, cutting through this thing's armor just like paper. And there's this cry of anguish. You hear its chains clatter to the ground. Then this loud, echoey, metallic sound as bit by bit, all the pieces of armor fall away. Until just for a moment, there's this humanoid form, this wretched-looking, sickly, gangly form, kneeling on the ground. Looks like heaving, breathing with great difficulty. And then all of the rust comprising it just collapses to the ground, spreads out over Raazu and Wendy's feet. And the air stops moving in the room. It falls silent again.
Raazu attempts to pick up the torch that got doused and light it again.
And it lights. And most of the floor in the room and many of the walls, and well, let's face it, most of your clothing and armor is covered in this layer of just red rust. All that remains of the creature are various random plates of its armor, and then these two heavy chains coiled along the ground.
Raazu starts to brush the rust that's sprayed and make sure that it doesn't contaminate her armor.
So, what's left of where the sarcophagus was?
Just this dais with the broken bottom of the sarcophagus, still with a layer of rust in, but considerably less than there was.
I guess we can clear the. I guess we can pull it all the way off now. So it shouldn't hurt to take it all the way off now.
I mean, there's nothing else to take off. The sarcophagus blew apart.
And that's right, it exploded.
Is my dagger still in there?
It is not.
God, that was my favorite knife.
You just got it.
No, that was my actual knife. I still have the Dragonborn dagger.
Yeah, I still have 3 Dragonborn daggers.
Well, that sucked.
How much rust?
It was speaking Southling, but it just said poison whenever you stabbed it. Adrex.
Well, don't most things, when you stab them, say poison?
No, not from my experience. They don't usually get a chance to talk.
Wendy's just in the corner of the room, desperately preening.
Try
Yeah,
the door.
Raazu's trying to get the shit off of her armor.
And you
Hey,
tried the
Rick,
door.
if I made evasion on every single the attacks, do I actually have any rest?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Just because they're so pervasive in this room.
Birdie is in the rust, kicking it around, looking for stuff.
You don't have any deep red welts where this chain impacted you, though.
Can I open this door now?
Yes, with some work you can push it open. And you hear the clang of the trigger that would drop this blade, but you've removed the blade off to the side.
Anything,
Did you
Birdie?
say something about the rust, Brickroad?
I said lots of things about the rust.
Related to my armor, though?
No.
Okay.
Red will step out of the room, hold the door open, take his cloak off, shake it out in the room, then make his way out.
Maybe I should have clarified this at the beginning of the campaign, but I assume when you guys take a long rest, that involves doing maintenance on your armor.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're doing that, your armor's not going to fall into disrepair. If you're not doing that, that's news to me.
No. Raazu's been doing that.
Birdie,
Wendy hears. Oh, go ahead.
as you're going around through the rust, looking for other pieces, I mean, you just find miscellaneous pieces of metal. Climbing up into the actual sarcophagus and fishing around, though, you find there's a depression in the center of it. It feels like the center of it has this sloped surface that's clogged up with these flakes of rust. That feels like it meets at a point in the center.
Kind of like a funnel?
Could be.
Okay, well, I need a stick or something. Can I borrow a torch?
What do you need it for?
I'm gonna poke this.
Poke what?
There's an impression down here. Like I need like an actual torch, like because I need the stick end, the end stick.
Let me
Pass
check
one
my
over.
inventory real quick. Oh, you still have torches?
Yeah, I didn't throw them out when I became blind. Wendy's a helpful sort.
All right. Like I'll just grab the torch by both hands and shove it down into the depression.
And it takes some work, but you do manage to find where there's a hole in the bottom of the sarcophagus. And you manage to work your torch into it, and now you let go, and the torch is standing straight up in a couple inches of flakes of rust. And you're very proud of yourself.
Oh,
Do you want to light it on fire and do a rain dance in a circle around it?
Birdie, let me try something.
Okay.
Seems oddly specific, Bertrode.
You might want to step on this corner of the room, Raazu.
Which corner of the room?
Over here by me. Behind,
Okay.
like this. And Wendy heard Red shake out his cloak in the center of the room. It was like, actually, that's a way better idea. And I'm going to cast Gust behind me, facing into the sarcophagus, hoping to clean out the rust from inside the sarcophagus, but also clean the rust off of me.
And you use Gust, and it does indeed blow layers of flakes of rust. And in many places, you now see the base of the stone sarcophagus. You see heavy cracks in it. And indeed there is this depression in the center of it, a few inches in diameter, leading down into a hole. Kind of like what you'd see at the end of a mini golf course. That right now is still piled up with rust that you've just blown into it.
Alright, well, can you scoop that out of there, Birdie? Is that useful?
I'll get my little spade and scoop it out.
Okay.
Use my little hands.
Wendy,
Little
make a...
Little toddler hands.
As Birdie's scooping this mess out of here, Wendy, make a intelligence mason tools check.
You got it. That's a 12.
A 12? One of two things is happening here, and you're not sure which.
Uh-huh.
Either this little hole just opens into a shaft or an opening underneath the sarcophagus, underneath the dais, which is fairly close because the rust has piled up into it, or it opens into just this a vast cavity, like an open space, and the rust has clogged the opening. After Birdie works for a few minutes, and it feels like he should have cleared all of the space if it was the second thing. You're pretty sure there's some kind of cavity underneath this dais.
Hey guys, where did all that wind go?
It was the ghost, wasn't it?
It got sucked into the sarcophagus. So, theoretically, maybe it went through that hole? We're gonna need something bigger to clean this, to knock all this shit out. Does anyone have like a big stick?
We have a
You have a shovel, don't you?
No, like a stick.
we have a we have a device with a tube on the end that shoots explosive lines of
Okay.
superheated air.
Does anyone have a not terrible stick? Well, let's keep our eye out. Maybe we'll find something that we can use to jostle some of this rust free.
All I know is that it would do exactly what you want it to do.
Okay, what's next?
Let's get Adrex to play the piano. He hasn't done that in a while. Maybe he'll get his point of charisma back.
I'll lose the ability to play the piano.
Is that what we're doing? Heading up to play the piano?
Yeah, I guess we're heading up to the
Yeah,
top
what the
of the
hell?
hole now.
I mean, we got to go up there anyway, don't we?
We're not done here.
Why? What's
Do you
up?
have a big stick?
I have a sword.
Is that what's? I guess
What
I have
kind
that
of
Fred.
sword?
Do
Yeah.
we?
Adrex,
Do
what
we
kind
wanna
of sword
take a
do you
sh-
have?
I have a silvered sword.
But what kind of, like, what make and model of the sword is it? Is it a long sword? Is it a rapier?
It's a long sword.
Okay, a long sword is too wide to fit down into this hole.
Yeah, that's what I was. That was my.
It's a 76 Cannith. Do we want to take a short rest after that? Like, I don't feel like we're under any serious time pressure here now that we've killed all the people. I think Adrex especially got pretty beaten up.
Yeah, I think that would be worth it.
All right, if we've got that much time, we could make a stick.
I mean, there's got to be something in all these traps and whatnot. I could. Oh, you know what we could do? We could tear out one of the tubes from the Calliope. What is it? Canal? I can never pronounce that word.
Calliope.
Or maybe Birdie could pull the shaft at the guillotine blade. Like, we could get the guillotine blade, take the blade off during the rest.
If Birdie spends about an hour and makes a Tinker's Tools check, yes, he could make something out of just the variety of debris left around the dungeon.
There we go, Birdie. Go for it.
So you want me to do that while the rest of you take a short rest?
Yes.
I don't need a rest, but I'm not a tinkerer.
Birdie, I got 19 HP.
I've got 14. Thank you. I win.
You stand far behind them.
Well, let me just try and work at it with. Can I work at it with a thieves' tools? And like I said, I think one of those large tubes from the Calliope would actually be good to pull air out, to suck things out while they're resting.
Thieves' tools aren't going to do anything for you here, but you can fix one of the tubes of the Calliope down in it,
and then use it like a scooper. Yeah. No, I don't need a rest. I'm fine. So.
Okay.
I suppose if this doesn't work, we'd always do it later.
Yeah.
So everybody can go ahead and take the benefits of the short rest, except for Red, who is spending most of the time with somebody's tools. I mean, there's all these tools back in room number 3 as well. Removing a piece of tubing from the Calliope, one of the narrower ones.
Yep.
Bringing it back up, fitting it down in. How long of a length of tubing do you want to work with?
The longest one I have available.
I mean, the pipes on this Calliope go pretty high up this wall. I mean, you could have a 20-foot high tube if you wanted.
Will that run into the ceiling here, or will that work?
It would run into the ceiling here.
How much space do I have to the ceiling?
Probably 15 feet or so.
Okay, yeah, I'll cut off 15 feet of a 20-foot long tube then, and use that.
So with much difficulty, Red manages to angle this tube in here, like trimming a Christmas tree. He has to take a few more inches off the top so it'll sit up.
Yep.
And you start pushing it down through this tube. And after it goes down maybe a foot, it stops on something.
Mm-hmm. So I want to pull the tube back and dump the rust out from the end of it, and then keep doing that.
Okay. After a few iterations of this, you realize you're working with maybe a 1-foot cube space underneath the sarcophagus that you keep hitting. And yeah, eventually you do work enough of this just debris out that you can look down and there's something laying in this space. Do you have a light source or just dark vision?
I have dark vision. If I can't see anything clearly with dark vision, I can light a torch.
With dark vision, you just see this shape, like an object laying down in there.
Yeah, let's light a torch.
Holding the torchlight over, it's still difficult to see because you're looking down this narrow tube. But you see this beautifully polished metal object with lots of strange curves and lots of very interesting, intricate carvings layered over it. It's difficult to tell what it is from here, and there doesn't seem to be a way to get it up out of this tube without demolishing the bottom of this sarcophagus.
Would I have time to start doing that, or
this would take an extreme amount of work? First of all, I don't know if you guys have the proper tools here.
I think Wendy should.
I have enough to do like basic work, but like I would probably want like a bigger hammer in order to deal with an entire chunk.
If you have a hammer and a chisel,
I've got that,
and worked at this for several hours, maybe a day or so, like a full day's labor, you could clear enough of this stone away to rubble to open up this cavity.
If we're gonna do that, let's clear the rest of this place out before we.
You can do that later.
Do that.
Hammer and chisel is basically the extent of what I figure Wendy carries. Like, that's what I consider Mason's tools.
Probably carry some basic mortaring supplies too, but that's probably it.
Okay, so what's next?
I guess we head up to the
The pool?
To the pool, yeah.
Okay, and you've used your own rope to...
We've transitioned the rope from down here to up there.
Okay, go ahead and draw that in. So the next encounter I surprise you with, we know where it is. There it
Can
is.
we see where the... Could you draw the rope ladders on this that they've...
Yeah, it looks like I think what you did is you took the map that stayed as it was 2 sessions ago,
Yeah, something like that.
and now I think
There was a rope ladder here, and then
There's one that gets thrown down from 7 to 6. There's
Yep.
one that gets thrown down from 4 to 2. Another one from 2 down
2
to the floor.
Yep.
The wall between 7 and 5 is pegged, so it's very easy to climb.
Wait, let me erase this, because I thought it was here.
And there's a passage that connects 4 and 5.
But that's only kobold
In the
size,
back
right?
here by that iron, or by the apiary, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I'll take this rope bridge that would go to 4, and I'll move it over here.
Okay.
Also worth pointing out, the next time you see Adrex, he's not wearing his armor at all, and he has grown wings, but has not said a word about it.
So Adrian's just the last to come out of this room.
Yeah.
What did you do with your armor?
I think he just left it in there. It's
Okay.
covered in rust. It's gross.
As soon as we move up into the windier area, Windy notices it and absolutely refuses to say anything. You just see her face twitch for a moment, and then she just keeps walking.
Wait, how does she notice it?
Because once we get into the air, I can see basically anything around me.
Adrex, does your back still hurt?
No. Actually, feels really good.
Adrex.
Hmm?
Adrex, you have wings.
Adrex turns to the left and smacking Raazu with his wing. Turns to the right. Smacks
Ow!
Yuan-ti with it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Adrex.
Hmm?
Birdie.
What?
Do Dragonborn grow wings like this?
Birdie,
I think the answer to that is yes.
Don't understand. Adrex,
you've seen Urds, haven't you?
can you don't throw me off the table. What the
Probably just reaches over and shoves him off and looks over the edge.
Do hobgoblins grow wings? Let's find out. Woo!
fucker? No, Adrex. Never mind. Raazu's going to start climbing up here.
Okay. And
No,
Raazu,
don't worry about this. We'll deal with the problem the same way that my mother dealt with it.
Raazu looks very
Birdie, you go up
concerned.
first. And when Adrex starts climbing up the rope and gets to the top, Windy cuts the rope.
well, let's see how much space there is between 8 and 10 here. I wasn't expecting to have to open this up again.
He's gonna fall straight down. He'll hit 8.
So that's a 27-foot fall.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's not how physics.
It's a 27-foot fall.
Oh, between 8 and 10. Yeah, sure.
Well, 8 and 11. 10 is the room back in here.
Yeah.
Adrex, 14 points of bludgeoning damage as you get to the top of the rope, and Windy just cuts it. You fall and crash.
Windy!
And
Fly
thankfully,
up!
there's no kobolds in the room to twist this platform right now. Otherwise,
When I got pushed off the mountain, I flew my way back up. Fly up!
Birdie looks over the bag and says, "You're an Urd now."
He's better than Nerd.
And Adrex points at Birdie menacingly as he can.
No, I'm not putting up with you not dealing with your own resources. Fly up!
I just picture Adrex doing the monkey point from Family Guy.
When he just starts throwing rocks at Adrex. Fly up!
Adrex very slowly, very laboredly starts trying to fly, and then crashes down again a few times.
Do it again, but better.
I don't know if he want to roll fall damage.
I mean, you have a fly speed, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, you have a fly speed of 20 feet.
Are you,
could dash,
are
get
you
up there.
voluntarily falling?
Not voluntarily, no. Adrex grasps onto the side and pulls himself up.
Welcome to the team, Adrian.
Completely exhausted and out of breath.
So, do you need some better... We need armor that fits your wings, then?
Maybe, I guess? I don't know. This is weird. Everything's gone weird. You're all weird. Things happen. Weird things happen when I hang out with you guys.
Wendy flies
I have
back
wings
down and
now.
takes up her rope minus 1 foot.
So on this ledge, back in this corner, is the large throne. And sitting next to it is what is essentially a large velvet cushion. Over here, there's a piano. And here in the center of these pillars and these stone benches is this pool.
Red will take a look into the pool. How deep does it look?
Looking at the pool, you can't see the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not because of how deep it is. It's because there's something murky in it. It's bubbling slightly, kind of maybe not bubbling, kind of roiling. You can feel warmth coming off the surface of it, but it's not entirely water. There's something else in this liquid that's making it semi-opaque.
Is it babbling?
Is it I think you're babbling.
And can you describe these pillars?
They're stone pillars.
Do they have these little markings in them?
They've got notch marks on them, but you spend a few minutes looking at them and they don't look like they mean anything. The pillars themselves are maybe 30 feet tall, and then they stop. The shaft above you just continues upwards into darkness, and there is a great deal of movement of air here as well.
So let's poke something into the water to see if it's acidic.
Birdie, coming up to the edge of the water, looking down into it, you immediately recognize what at least part of this liquid is. And, I mean, if I was in your situation, I would think it's horrifying. But Birdie is a strange little man, so you can make that determination for yourself. Mixed with the water is the, amniotic fluid from inside of an unhatched kobold egg. And a great deal of this kobold yolk must have been collected to fill this quantity of water.
That is mildly horrifying, yes.
So, Red, you see Birdie step up to the water and peer down into it, then he gets a little gaggy.
In fact, Birdie does throw up. He's just hanging
Into the
over the
water?
edge of this. No, over this bench.
Is it
hell is
poisonous?
that?
Is there fumes?
No, there's no fumes.
No, I'm asking Birdie.
It's kobold eggs. That's a very large, very, very, very genocidal omelet.
That sounds like a Google whack if I've ever heard one. Let's see if I can...
Do they taste good?
A Google whack? What?
A Google whack is 2 words that you search on Google that only come up with 1 result.
Genocide omelet?
Genocide omelet?
Oh, I got 158,000 results.
Well, that checks out.
Yeah, okay.
176,000, yeah. First result is a scene from Fight Club.
My first result is a recipe for a ham and mushroom omelet. I don't know why Genocide picked that up.
Well, does it have the thing where it's like word omitted?
I don't care about that anymore.
I do. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm
You have no one to blame for but yourself.
So yeah, to
We're not
Red
here.
and Raazu, this just looks like kind of murky maybe more viscous than usual water, but Birdie, you know exactly what's happened here.
Is there anything deeper in there? Like, is there like an actual like kobold fetus in there?
You can't see what's in the water past maybe 10 or 20 feet because looking into it, it's semi-opaque. You can't see the bottom of this pool.
There's not a kobold fetus in there. There's no... Kobolds hatch from eggs, just like all normal people.
Right.
Raazu looks a little dubious at that.
Do Yuan-ti hatch from eggs?
No.
Most Yuan-ti are made in, like, horrifying, macabre religious ceremonies.
Yeah.
Do they involve eggs?
No.
Okay.
What are these pillars again?
These are stone pillars. They're about 30 feet tall.
Do they have like little notchwork like they do in this picture right here?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
Remind me, the ladder that we're trying to go up, that's a Yuan-ti concept as far as we understand?
Yes. It was essentially a Yuan-ti prayer, like a religious saying from very archaic, not from their modern interpretation of the Red Star, though.
Who wants to go on the horrible child death hole?
You're the kobold.
Hey.
Right. That should make it their kobold children dead, so that should mean that I don't get to go down in the hole.
No, I'm going to support him on that one.
You're the bigger dragon. That means you take responsibility. That's how that works.
So what's next?
Can we, do we have any magical sources of light aside from the low light torch?
No, I don't think so.
You have Adrex's sword.
Yeah,
None that would burn
just
underwater.
Yeah, it wouldn't burn.
Can we tie a rope to the torch and just lower it into the water?
Well, that's what I was thinking to do, but I didn't know if we wanted to do that with the low light torch.
I think it's our best pick at this point if we want to put light down there.
How far can you see into the water?
About 20 feet if you have dark vision.
Fine, whatever. I'll cast
Hold on.
I'll use the wand to give everybody water breathing.
Hold on.
No.
Wait,
Hold
what? Does that even work on yoke? It's not yoke breathing?
It's not entirely yolk, I don't think.
There are probably some white too, yeah.
Kobold egg white yellow omelet.
It's the healthiest way to eat kobold.
It's true.
So what do we
Cave
do?
raised.
Adrex keeps saying, hold on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
I have to know what he's going to come out with.
Never mind.
Never mind, coward. Let's let the dim light torch down there.
Yeah, let's get.
I'll tie a nice rock to it, just in case it's not heavy enough on its own,
Okay.
and dip it down in there.
And it sinks down into the fluid. And immediately, just below the surface, maybe 5 or 6 feet down, you see all around the inside of the ring of the pool is a ledge where you could sit on and relax in the Kobold abortion jacuzzi.
This gets worse every time you describe something more.
You cannot name the video Kobold abortion jacuzzi.
I think you brought that on yourself.
Why would you describe it as such? Come on now.
Because the mental
it's
image
accurate.
that it created is exactly as horrifying as I wanted this to be. So, as it sinks further and further down, the light becomes more and more like refracted amongst the murkiness of the amniotic fluid in this pool. And it drops to the bottom maybe 30 feet down. Maybe a little bit less. So you can see almost to the bottom of the pool. What it illuminates, though, are 4 essentially steam jets rising up out of the bottom of the pool. Looks like vents that's heating the water from below.
Did the kobolds who lived here knew this was going on? I'm assuming Birdie described what this shit actually is, right?
I mean,
where do you think they got the eggs?
to be fair, on the scale of crazy, stupid atrocities that people make kobold masters make kobolds do, this is like not even in the top 5.
It's mid-tier?
15 or 16, probably.
I want to know what the worst is.
No, I don't. I really don't.
So, I mean, it's certainly some form of genocide, just a different one.
Alright, well, that's terrible. Let's see what's going on with this piano.
I think this is all Adrex.
So the torch is... How are you going to retrieve the torch?
It's tied to a rope.
I'll pull the rope back up.
Oh, I thought you said tied to a rock.
No, the
there's
torch
a
is
rock.
tied to a rope, and then there's a rope on the other end.
Okay.
There's a rock
like
on the
a-
end of
like
the
a-
rope to weight it down.
Yeah.
There's
Like a
rope with a
lead
rock
sinker.
and a
And
torch.
When you fish it out, I mean, it's like pulling the rope out. There's this huge, like, webbing of this viscous, snot-like material that comes sucking out.
This sucks.
that was gross. It was really gross. I think we better just leave that to dry on the floor for a little bit. What do you think?
I don't know that I want it to dry on the floor.
But he's just gonna go sit on the throne and be upset.
Okay, roll initiative.
For Birdie or everybody?
No, it's fine. Birdie, you climb up on the throne.
Oh.
And you sit there. Just a
We
big,
all believed him.
just a big stone chair.
Yeah.
Right.
On the back of it, where you're resting your head, is this giant image carved directly into the stone of a gloved fist, heavy iron glove. Looking down at the cushion sitting next to the throne, embroidered on it in cloth of gold, is the image of a giant battle axe. And you recognize this fist and this battle axe as the things that kept trying to punch and chop at you in the previous combat.
Mm-hmm.
Does the velvet cushion act before 27?
I'm going to say no, because it's an inanimate
Okay.
object.
Okay.
That you know.
That's
of.
never stopped anyone from acting before.
Yeah.
Adrex, you come up on the piano.
Yep.
It does not look as fancy or as ornate as the giant grand piano that you learned to play on. This looks like something you'd see in a church basement in like the 1970s.
All right. And completely unprompted, Adrex just starts playing piano.
And the shaft, once again, is filled with music. But this time it is delightful Adrex music and not horrible
I like-
Calliope music.
I'm picturing either ragtime or ska.
Oh, for Adrex, it's definitely ska.
Yeah, no, that's not even a question.
What's next?
And you said that this shaft continues higher and higher, right?
Yes, the shaft, the entirety of it, the whole width of the cube, continues upward.
Does it,
disappears in the distance.
Can we see daylight or star or the stars up above?
Nope. No, you haven't climbed nearly high enough yet.
How are we going to get up that high if we're supposed to climb the ladder?
I think this is a Windy and now Adrex thing.
Oh.
That looks like a little much for Adrex, I think.
I believe in him.
He literally just started doing it. Like, you gotta warm up first for these kind of things. Like, this
It's like
is
falling
Alright,
out of a
Adrian.
nest. You never forget how.
All right, Adrex, start by stretching. I believe that's important, right? I'll look at Windy.
When do you nod?
Adrex stops playing the piano, starts stretching.
The room gets a
Everybody
lot
stretches like
drearier
Adrex.
now that Adrex is not playing anymore.
Alright, so We've got 2 ladders and a great distance into the ceiling.
Wendy, I want to take a look inside the Kobold barracks. Or did we already look
We
through
already
that?
did that. We got arrows and stuff.
What about
Yeah.
this side?
These 2 rooms
Those all-
adjoin,
Mhm.
and there's
Are
a
both
heavy
barracks?
iron door that was giving off warmth. So it goes
Oh,
this
right,
way.
there's the fire door. Let's go check out the fire door.
Yeah.
That's probably where those steam vents go.
That's fine. I love fire.
That makes sense. That makes sense, yeah, but...
I'm hesitant to get off the big chair. I so very rarely get to sit in the big chair.
You have to literally climb down off of it.
I know, but it makes me feel so large.
Raazu tightens a rope right here, and then like, oh, let me actually get a draw tool instead of a.
Like, Wendy's not going to cut it, is she?
She
Red's
better
gonna sit
not.
down with this bench and open up his pack and see the ridiculous mess it's become,
And
and
it's
kind of sigh.
awful in there.
And he's gonna lay out all of his equipment and start rearranging it. Wendy, did you say they eat birds? Do you have any birds on you?
They eat basically, like Birdie will say, they eat anything a snake will eat.
I guess that... What does Wendy do with the eggs she lays?
Okay.
Other than legend lore them.
Well, they are all of legendary importance.
Dude,
You lord your own eggs just for the ego trip.
I'm gonna be
That
honest
was
with
a
you.
thought.
the
I
egg.
think Wendy would probably eat them.
That was
No,
a mental image. That was a mental image that I did not need.
do Aarakocra. No, that's
It's
horrifying.
Wendy, though.
That's horrifying.
It's not fertilized.
Birdie would probably eat them, but that's horrifying for you to do it.
Listen, it's not fertilized. It's not unethical.
They're free range.
They're free range.
Fuck did this session go?
It got away from me. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, going back into the barracks, it's as you left it, still strewn about with the sleeping quarters, bedrolls, footlockers. You've already taken all of the relevant loot out of here.
So okay, Raazu pulls her gauntlet off, feels the door. Does it look like is the door hot to the touch?
Very hot to the touch. In fact, if you left your hand touching it for a great length of time, it would probably start to burn.
Yeah, so I don't know about pulling this door open,
All right,
but
we're definitely gonna pull this door open.
well, yeah, I mean,
So,
it's gonna be kind of dangerous, though. I think.
so what if we put a rope around the handle and then ran outside of the room and tugged it open before the rope burned? Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
Hmm.
I mean, the rope's not going to ignite just from contact with this door. If it was that hot, Raazu would have sustained damage touching it.
All right. Yeah. Let's
All right,
pull
yeah,
that off.
do that.
then.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah. You undo the latch on the door and affix the rope around it.
Yeah.
And then pull it from across the room.
Peer through the door from here.
And indeed, it leads into a small stone chamber that looks very much like an oven. And as you pull the door open, you hear cries of anguish escape from inside. You see on the ground the stone floor. First of all, the stone is the gray and mottled white of the entire compound, minus the tiles that most of the floors here are made out of. However, in a large ring around this creature in the center, you see black markings carved or etched or burned into the stone, forming a circle around her. She is kneeling on the floor, licked in flames from all directions. Her arms are laying flat against the floor, palms up, and you see where obsidian spikes have been driven through her palms. As the door opens, her head snaps up, and she has beautiful sylvan features, very reminiscent of your time in the Feywild. And she's crying, not in pain and anguish, but in fury.
I think
Hello?
that's justified.
Wendy will poke her head over the side.
Okay. And you see the awareness in her eyes. Well, you don't. Well, actually, you probably can see them. As
No.
it's like she's looking into your brain through your eye sockets.
Oh, I think that's really easy for Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
Divine Sense. Fey, Fiend, or Undead?
It's all
Celestial
clear.
Fiend, Undead. I'm sorry. Celestial Fiend, Undead. I'm
Nope,
sorry.
it's all clear. None of the
Okay.
above. And she says something in... Wendy, you know Orin,
Pixie.
yes?
Yeah, I know Orin as well. Yeah.
Make an intelligence check.
14.
She speaks in this language that sounds like words being formed out of syllables of licking flame and cracking charcoal. The words are very far away from Orin, but you recognize them as being similar. And you're pretty sure she's telling you, not asking, telling you to free her so that she may bring her revenge down on the kobolds that trapped her here. The word for kobold is pretty much the same in every language. That was easy to figure out.
Would you recognize the kobolds who trapped you here if I let you free? Or would you just go after any kobold?
Essentially, you're asking her, well, what language are you using?
Orin?
Orin.
I'm speaking nice and slow.
She replies in almost perfect Orin.
Oh, fantastic.
Her voice is still made out of the licking flames, but now there's melody behind it that you're used to hearing, like the shrill sounds of the wind that Orin is usually spoken in.
Mhm.
But the vocabulary is perfect. She tells you make a persuasion check, actually. Let's see how friggin' angry she is.
That's a 9.
A 9.
Yeah, I'm not trained in persuasion.
She tells you that when you free her, not if you free her, when you free her,
Mhm.
that no kobold shall be spared her wrath.
Alright, so here's the thing. I'm inclined to free you, but we have a kobold who didn't trap you, and I'm not going to let you free unless you don't go after him.
And her eyes narrow. You can see that she's stooped over, or you can feel rather.
Yeah.
She stooped over on the ground because her arms are pinned down with these spikes. And for a moment she doesn't say anything. But then she gives her assent and says that it shall be so.
Alright, and I'll go down there and I'll let out the spikes.
Now,
And
when
I'll
you
shout out...
step into this oven, you're going to start taking fire damage.
No, that's fine. Listen, Wendy's the kind of person who would take fire damage in order to free this creature.
Okay. What are you carrying into the oven with you?
I'll just drop my pack outside and head in with just my bare hands.
Okay.
Bare feathers.
What are you doing to remove the spikes from her hands?
I'm going to... let's think about this before I head into the furnace.
That's probably a good idea. What's everybody else
Yeah.
doing is Nodal works through
Raazu's keeping an eye on Wendy. She's just in the barracks watching her.
Okay. Adrex, are you in the jacuzzi?
No, Adrex is peering over the edge and maybe making whimpering sounds.
If I'm gonna take fire damage, I'm gonna take fire damage. I'll go in with the hammer and chisel.
Okay. So here's what we're going to need to do.
Yeah.
So you're going to go with the hammer and chisel and try to chisel the stone around the obsidian spikes to free the actual... So when she pulls her hands free, she'll still have spikes through her hands? Is that the idea?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Make a... I'm going to say strength plus mason tools.
Okay.
You need... It's a DC of 50, but you can make the roll as many times as you want until you reach that 50. Just keep adding together.
You got it.
I mean, don't we have that spike from the Obsidian Spire we could use to maybe aid this?
Took 4 rounds.
Took 4 rounds. Okay. Let's see if Wendy's still conscious after 4 rounds of exposure to this fire.
Uh-huh.
How much health you got?
70.
Okay, never mind.
So anything you're wearing or carrying is ignited and burned away.
I mean, that's just the way it's going to be.
Alright, so I gotta get calc.exe here. Okay.
I don't like that he's got to get calc.exe.
Hey, man, if this is the way...
67 points of fire damage.
Oh, God.
And I mean, your feathers are... But you're gonna walk out of here essentially plucked.
Yeah.
And maybe slightly rotisserie. But yeah, 67 points of fire damage from exposure to the fire. And
Should have taken turns.
you manage to get the chisel down and get this obsidian. And she pops, her hands pop free with this cry of anger. And as you pull the spikes from the ground, she immediately throws one of her arms back and scrapes this obsidian spike across the stone, interrupting this circle of blackened and charred stone that's been placed here. When that happens, all of the fire vanishes. And she's laying on the floor, breathing raggedly, exhausted. And Wendy, you are very pink and slightly toasty.
Yeah.
Raazu moves in, pulls Wendy out, then pulls the woman out.
Okay. And she's incredibly
fire.
hot to the touch. I mean, just her skin is a bright red color. She has these long, sharp fingernails that are black like coal. And as you reach down, she swats your hand away. She won't let you grab hold of her, and she brings herself up to her feet. As she does, you realize she's wearing this, I used to know the actual word for this. What's like those Chinese dresses called? That's
Is it like a kimono?
No, not a kimono. That's Japanese, Nodal.
No, I know. That's why I said like a kimono.
Look at Nodal being all racially insensitive. Starts with
They're
a C,
like
a C-H.
Cheongsam?
Yes, a cheongsam.
Nice.
Cheongsam, yeah.
Beautifully inlaid with patterns. It's made out of cloth that is absolutely pristine. It's not burned, charred, or cindered. And her hair, which a moment ago you didn't see at all, is falling around her shoulders and down her back. And it's, again, charcoal black. As she gets to her feet and she huffs and puffs her way out of the room. What did you do with Wendy?
Set her to the side, and then I don't have it. Raazu calls down, Adrex, Wendy's been burned.
You know what's real fucked up? Wendy's not going to be able to fly until her feathers grow back.
Wendy is breathing extremely slowly, and like you reach your head in closer, and you just hear her repeating, "Pain is just a signal from the mind to the body, indicating that a danger is near."
Now, is she whispering that in Aarakocra?
All she's got right now is common.
You can't whisper in Aarakocra because it's a language of whistles. You can't whisper a whistle. Don't be silly.
Alright, Adrex goes inside.
Okay. And this woman pulls herself out of the, essentially the door of this stove. And looks like she's trying to catch her breath. She looks beyond exhausted. And she seems focused on Wendy on the other side of the room where you've placed her. Very intently. Her eyes have no iris, no pupil. They are just black coal balls in her face.
So was it the kobolds or their masters that put you in there?
She looks at Raazu with just these solid black eyes. And you can still see her brow is furrowed up in anger. Where's Birdie at right now?
I'm up above, like here, right in here. I haven't come down.
I need this square for all my gear. So.
Right.
I didn't take a rest. I actually have to do now. This is bothering.
I imagine it's all like laid out in neat little rows.
Yes.
Like
It's laid out in neat little rolls that every pouch is completely open. There are all these little leather rolly things that he has all the different tool sets in. He's carefully rearranging it and getting ready to put it back in his pack.
And the
Birdie's
cat
trying to make
is
cat
curled
food.
up at your foot, purring
Yep.
loudly.
Birdie's up here trying to make cat food.
You don't
Raazu,
have any birds, do you?
Yes.
You asked the woman if it was the kobolds or their masters. She says it was the kobolds under orders of the dwarf.
We've routed them. The dwarf and his companion are dead, and most of the kobolds either died or fled.
And you see that answer she mislikes a great deal. The idea that you've killed everybody before she had a chance to vent her anger out on them is not particularly to her liking.
Alright, Wendy, get back 6 hit points from my healer's kit.
Alright.
One-tenth of the damage she took.
The woman is staring at Wendy now the whole time that Adrex is doing what he can to apply ointments and salves to these burn wounds.
And Wendy drags herself to her feet after the ointments are applied and says, "If you give me a few minutes, I can try to get those spikes out of you."
At that, the woman grabs hold of the back of one of the spikes with the fingers on her other hand, and with great difficulty and pain, yanks it out. Then she does the same with the other hand. And for a moment, the wounds are not bleeding. She sits with her hands in front of her for a moment, trembling, and licks of flame gout up out of her palms and along her fingers. And when the flame dies down, the wound is gone.
Neat trick.
And she doesn't like it being called a trick, but she doesn't say anything, just shoots you a nasty look.
Wow, that's hot.
She shoots Adrex an even nastier look. She says there is yet one more thing binding her to this place, preventing her from returning home. Did somebody just
And it
drop
just
their
fell
computer?
off.
Someone may have dropped their mouse, yes.
Oh.
So, what's still binding you here?
She stands up
What are-
and walks over to Wendy. And Wendy, you can sense there's no love lost between you and this woman. She's not acting like you just did her this great favor.
Uh-huh.
And everybody can see this in her poise and in her mannerisms and in the speech that she's using. Primarily common, now that everybody else is in the room. She tells Wendy that before she can leave this plane, she is bound by honor to grant unto you your heart's desire. Until you do this, she is bound to you.
And Wendy nods for a moment and says, "Give me something that I can use to help others as I helped you."
Was the groan
Adrex.
part of the statement, or?
Adrex holds up a hand.
That was Adrex.
That was Adrex, yeah.
Adrex rummages through his pack and pulls out Wendy's eyes.
That seems like a great time to take our break.